Man, that sucks. Right, hey everyone. I'm sure you've all seen a long time back, that whole Willy Wonka, I'll say it again, Willy Wonka experience back in Glasgow, where the main force of advertisement was that just the series of AI images they used to have this perception of a really colorful place, so all kids can enjoy, like reminiscent of the movies, which would be a good time around for everyone. And by the end, the only good thing that came out of it was just the memes, the pictures of just how huge of a mess it was in the I guess storage warehouse they rented out to have the place where like at max they had like 10 props that were like candy themed to make it seem like it was still labeled as Willy Wonka, like what do you mean it's not Willy Wonka themed? Look, we have a huge candy cane there in the corner. It's just like the factory in the movies, where in general just like such a huge mess. It was kind of like a horseshoe where it's big enough of a mess to just seem depressing because kids went there and were just bored as hell or just would displeased by it, but it was just like laughable enough that it would just seem impossible to imagine was real, but it was, which is pictures floating around on Twitter of how grim it was, despite being the Willy Wonka experience. I love that name in general. They couldn't call it the Chocolate Factory, probably because like copyright reasons, right? So the Willy Wonka experience was the closest thing they would get to sell that magic to kids. I will admit, the nicest part in the whole story, apart from just how funny of a mess it was, which is that for that lady that actually dressed up as an Oompa Loompa and purely just by putting on the worst like face paint they could find and just putting on that, like not even being paid enough to put on a smile, but just having enough energy to be nice to the kids by giving them sweets, which is probably the only highlight for them. And it was actually so nice that she was actually put in Scottish news, which was really heartwarming to see, because she was probably the only person that actually tried to sell the experience, or at least make it fun for the kids that went there, just had their day ruined. But for most people that didn't go there, just laughed at the pictures. But everyone else had a good time, especially my favorite part is everyone else, which is that the guy that or the character they generated in the script, he was only wearing a mask and his name was The Unknown. That was a tiny smidgen of hope that was part of the script that the AI wrote for everyone to read off. Which I want to talk about that, because from what I've seen, most of the people that were part of it hired were just poor actors that only took up jobs like as part-time out of nowhere, and they had no idea what was going behind them. They were purely given what was prepared like a week before. Like one guy, as part of the script, he had to pull out an umbrella, something similar to that, and he didn't have one. And the guy was like, yeah, we don't have that yet. You can either buy one out of your own volition, for bullshit, or you can improv it by then. Which, when this whole thing blew over, it was such a mess that no one could really like dig down who was behind it, because when you have like this kind of like disaster, funny disaster, I'm not gonna act like it's depressing, but when you have this kind of shit show, it's impossible to see who's behind it, because even like the bodyguards or like the security there, I just like were hired like a week ago, and even they have no idea who they have to report to. Thankfully, now that the internet has to like stop having its fun with the whole experience, the guy behind it, the organizer, I say organizer with very light terms, because I mean, can you really call organized when it was just like a barren warehouse with like 20 props scattered around? I don't think you could, but for the sake of the story, I'll call him that. So the organizer, Billy Cole, if I'm saying it right, all the way in Scotland, decided to come out and give his own apology, kind of like a mix of apology, being like sorry for, the mess that it was, but also being sympathetic towards himself, just telling like how bad it was for him as well, which it definitely was when he saw that at a loss of £35 a ticket for the mess that it was, which in dollars is like 45, which I can name 5 things that you could buy for that kind of money that would be way better. It wouldn't be as funny as that, but for a kid, that's like the biggest waste of money you can imagine when you see the AI images they had in their mind advertised to them. But the main reason why you should have spent money, for him, for his massive show, is because had it gone right, which it didn't, he wouldn't have like apparently what he said in interviews, lost everything, like his friends and his girlfriend, with everyone ridiculing him, as well as being the face of all evil. And I'm sorry, I'm reading through this again and it's just so dumb. I want to go back on what I said about the girlfriend leaving him. It's actually the love of his life. So just the happiest thing in his life, leaving him for the mess of the Willy Wonka experience. As well as getting hundreds and hundreds of hate messages being dubbed Willy Wonka, which if there's any group of people you can trust more to be pissed off about that and come up with a positive at the end, it would be the Scottish people. But already this sounds incredibly depressing. Like this sounds like the story of a guy that worked hard for years and years to come up with like his own business, but then one bad festival, one bad party he came up with just completely tore it down. And from what I've seen of what he built up and worked hard for, the most recent stuff that I could find that he did was make and sell 16 books on Amazon purely written by AI, which I'm not surprised by. When you use AI, that's already like a huge gap of like imagination and dedication and everything else in your mind that you can't trust yourself or even allow it to happen naturally. With one of the books from the masterful 16 collection that took years to write was about the truth of the vaccines. And if I had to guess, that one right there would probably be the diamond in the rough from all the other books, like the actual good one. You would think it'd be like a deep dive into the research about the vaccines and like side effects people have had over the years from, back in during COVID. But it's been described as a suspenseful thriller from the description, which I'm not surprised by because AI definitely can, spend that much time looking into actual like facts online. So the best you could do is just like make up a story that sounds scary just from the short prompt the guy wrote in to make it a book that he could sell, to morons. From just looking at that short example of that one book, the immediate vibe I got from this guy was that had he been born in the 1800s, he would have definitely been bottling up and selling snake oil to like the dumbest people ever. But thankfully, since he's born in the 21st century, he can use the power of AI to replace the imagination he doesn't have, to write books to kids and sell an experience. And you can definitely tell like when he first got his hands on some AI bot, he was just blown away and he could only imagine the kind of money he could make from it. So in the future, from what I believe, he's definitely gonna be making other stuff to make money out of it. Not a lot, but just a tiny pinch, which for him would just be worth it because he probably won't be spending that much time on it, so he'll make a small profit from it. Do the people from the experience deserve a refund? Absolutely, yeah. Does this guy deserve to never have like any business they can sell online? Definitely not, because if that was like a tiny example of his genius of just putting it out there, of that being a Willy Wonka experience, I definitely want him to have the liberty to make something else like this again, just to be like an artifact of human history of how big of a mess it can be, and just how funny in general, of him trying to sell it to kids and make it seem like what he advertised online was actually worth it, but just purely using AI.